Brethren and companions, it is some time since we've had the opportunity to meet, following the suspension of all Masonic activity during these unprecedented circumstances, and I wanted to keep in touch with you all to update you on what is taking place in our province. This is a hugely difficult time for those of us who have heeded the call to self-isolate for the greater good, for those who are taking care of others, whilst having to practice social distancing when we do need to venture out of our homes. I've spent many hours thinking of you all and empathise with how you must be feeling, but I wanted to thank you for your understanding, your support and your cooperation during these very difficult times. My thoughts are particularly drawn to those who we've recently lost, either due to the pandemic or otherwise, and my prayers go out to their families and loved ones who need our support most. New procedures have been introduced to ensure that such details remain confidential and not disclosed on social media until formally announced by the province. My thoughts and prayers are also with members who have contracted and recovered from Covid-19, and those less fortunate who still remain in hospital. On your behalf, I have contacted as many of those affected as have been brought to my attention, and offered each your very best wishes for a prompt and complete recovery. This is a perfect time for us to display the essence of brotherly love and practice two of our 5 provincial R's, relief and responsibility. Some fantastic ideas have already been implemented, which have made a significant difference to the welfare and comfort of our members, their families, widows and local communities, while other practical initiatives are under active consideration and will be rolled out shortly. I'm hugely grateful to those of you who have taken the trouble to contact me, by telephone, email or other means, to inquire about my well-being and welfare, and it just serves to demonstrate the sense of togetherness we have in this very special province of ours. In times of difficulty and separation, the power of a courtesy phone call, text or email is immense. Measures have been proposed to keep in touch with each other, with those who live alone, with those who are most vulnerable, and those who rely on others for assistance, all of whom will invariably be uplifted by such contact. We've suggested that lodges and chapters embrace the available technology, including WhatsApp groups and Zoom, and I'm so grateful to those who have taken the time to set these up so that members can keep in regular contact with each other. I've already participated in a number of hugely successful virtual meetings with lodges, friends and the Light Blues Club, which were hugely received by the participants. At a time when information is critical, we've ensured that our provincial website remains your single source of truth and is regularly updated with all the latest news, information and procedures to help us navigate the impact caused by this period of Masonic suspension. The effect of the suspension means that many of us are now managing our Masonic activity on a remote basis, and despite the closure of our provincial office, our Masonic centres, our communications team has kept actively in touch with you with relevant information, rules and procedures, which have now increased relevance, and I make no apology for doing so regarding provincial matters or those on behalf of United Grand Lodge of England. Still, much is being achieved at this time, and I encourage lodges and chapters to use this time wisely to review their policies, processes, procedures and activities so that they might be updated and reformed to your future benefit. On a personal basis, it is a huge disappointment that this period of suspension coincides with so many of our immensely popular provincial events, all of which have had to be postponed. Not only does this include our social events such as our provincial quiz, but also our flagship Provincial Grand Lodge meeting in May and the service for Thanksgiving at Rochester Cathedral 2 weeks later. I'm especially saddened for those who would have received appointments and promotions in grand rank from the Most Worshipful Grand Master or First Grand Principal later on this month. Once the suspension has been lifted, I plan to hold brief craft and Royal Arch business meetings which are required of us when the time permits at Oakley House to conclude necessary provincial business. However, thereafter I'm proposing that we hold a combined investiture ceremony for the craft and Royal Arch at Great Queen Street on Friday the 13th of November, the date of our former Provincial Grand Chapter meeting, which will be a celebratory event to mark the return to Masonic business in the presence of our families and friends and give us a chance to congratulate those who have received provincial preferment in both orders. You're aware that my deputies, Provincial Grand Secretary and I have been holding weekly provincial COBRA meetings to ensure the welfare of all provincial activities, to be vigilant of any matters arising, and to remain one step ahead of opportunities and threats. I also participate in similar bi-weekly meetings with Provincial Grand Masters of our neighbouring provinces in East Kent, Surrey and Sussex, as well as a number of United Grand Lodge of England committees to ensure that we're aligned in our approach. As regards our Masonic centres, I've written to remind you of the needs during the fallow period, given their lack of revenue from Masonic and non-Masonic events, while still having to meet fixed operating costs. I'm most grateful to those who have heeded my call to continue settling temple and lodge of instruction rentals for these suspended meetings, and associated tiler, janitor and organist fees, and particularly touched by those who have chosen to make further donations as permitted within the terms of their lodge and chapter bylaws. I'm also particularly concerned about the financial welfare of many of our members who might be facing financial hardship and having to rein back their commitments accordingly. Many government initiatives offering financial relief, together with those from other institutions, have been announced, and details of these funding sources, together with appropriate hyperlinks to each, are shortly to appear on a new member welfare section of our provincial website. Further assistance is always available from your lodge almoner, who will be able to liaise with the Masonic Charitable Foundation and seek financial support based upon their new sources of financial support which have been introduced. Those who are members of other Masonic orders might also wish to approach their benevolent funds, the Mark Benevolent Fund being such an example. However, the fact remains that we have many members who, having approached all of the above channels for financial assistance, may still require immediacy of support, perhaps for food purchases or for those more pressing short-term financial needs. Over the past weeks, I have worked closely with Peter Sawyer, our Provincial Treasurer, and I'm pleased to announce the launch of the new West Kent Provincial Emergency Fund to cater for short-term financial hardship for our members. I have ring-fenced £100,000 from a number of sources which will be available for small donations or loans to be considered for those who have applied to all of the above channels but still require immediate assistance. Supporting Peter Sawyer as chair of a three-man adjudication panel will be Peter Brooker and Neil Mokes, and they will be supported in an administrative capacity by Binoy Karia. This fund demonstrates that, in adversity, the welfare of our members is our primary concern. The welfare of our community remains in our minds, and many of you have joined me in enrolling with the NHS as volunteers. We also in discussion with local NHS trusts and have placed our Masonic centres at their disposal so that frontline care workers can park there without charge. I've also received great support to my letter for volunteers with 3D printing capabilities or stocks of personal protection equipment to come forward so that we may assist in the production of equipment to support the needs of the frontline staff in the NHS, in care homes, in community services, and others providing essential support. I'm also reviewing how we might be able to assist by supporting the work of the food banks, which do so much wonderful work throughout West Kent, and many others besides. It goes without saying that all that we're doing would not be possible without such a dedicated provincial executive team and a supportive membership throughout the province. We must continue to demonstrate the relevance of Freemasonry to our community, and I will continue to keep you informed on future developments through our website, email and social media channels. Let me reassure you all that I cannot wait to resume our Masonic meetings with you and get back to normal when it is safe to do so. In the meantime, if you possibly can, stay at home, stay safe, and I wish you and your families well. May God bless you all.